So recently there's been a video from a YouTube creator by the name of Soggy Cereal, and he ended up coming out with a video against Dogpack. Now Dogpack is a very interesting YouTuber. If you don't know who he is, essentially he's the guy who came out and apparently exposed Mr. Beast for faking his videos, having illegal lotteries. However, there was this YouTuber that came out with a 1 hour and 30-minute video debunking all of these claims. Initially, I really wasn't going to talk about this until I ended up going into the comment section, and I noticed that a couple of comments were getting tons of likes. And these are the two comments. I want to go ahead and read the first one for you. I don't got any media literacy. I blindly believe Dogpack, and now I'm going to blindly believe you because it's easiest on my mental bandwidth. The world is too crazy for me to keep up, so if you get disproven on your claims, I'll blindly believe the person who debunked you as well. And I've already talked about this issue in multiple videos where I talk about how people aren't always going to get all the details. You know, there's people who go to work for 8 hours a day. They want to come home, unwind, and perhaps be with the kids. And they have relatively little time to even do any of the research. And the other comment that I want to address reads, people want to believe that they are free thinkers so bad, but as soon as a video like this drops, they suddenly switch sides. How about you stay neutral because none of these people know you, and don't blindly support either side as soon as they say something new. Now, it would sound like I would agree with this comment, but to remain neutral means that you're listening to both sides, you're unbiased, and you don't want to prove anyone wrong. I don't think that that's what the problem is. I think that the true problem is that people just cannot say, I don't know. Just take a look at the top comment. The top comment reads, I will blindly believe the person who debunks you. If you told this guy to stay neutral on a slope, he'll eventually tumble backwards because he doesn't know how to be neutral. When have you ever gone to the comment section and have read a comment that says, you know what, I like the knowledge of the subject, so therefore I don't know and I cannot provide an opinion at this time? You will never see that. You will always see people going down in the comment section and immediately blast the person that they're attempting to expose without any understanding of the subject. And if you're going to argue and say, well, the people who don't know don't comment on these videos, well, there is a way of communicating your thoughts while also acknowledging and having humility with your intellect. If you don't know anything about the subject, then you could just type in the comment section, well, you know what, so far from what I know, da 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 da. And you can make that comment. That's appropriate because at the same time, you're demonstrating to people that you really don't know about the subject, but at the same time, you have some knowledge that you've heard somewhere else and it's corroborated in the same video. But either way, even with the whole neutrality stuff, that would require people to understand what they're listening to, which oftentimes people don't exactly understand what they're listening to. Because there was a couple of issues that I had with this video that people who aren't trained rhetorically didn't pick up. And I want to go ahead and just mention that even I will still miss details because I would have to rewatch it over and over a couple of times, but that would require me to invest my time into a subject that I really don't have that much interest into. But from what I've seen, I'll show you what I saw so then you guys could potentially understand that this is so much more complex than it seems. So there was a segment where Soggy Cereal, who is the creator of this video, he interviews a woman by the name of Cara. Now, apparently this woman is a hiring manager and also the author of the script that Dogpack was sharing around online. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you the segment where Cara is explaining the manuscript, and I'm gonna help break it down for you guys so you guys can see what I'm seeing.
So there was a leaked document, about like work culture, and there was a line in there, no doesn't mean no, and it has a pretty negative connotation. And I was wondering, because you know, you as a woman working at Beast, what was your reaction when reading that no doesn't mean no thing? And
now notice how Soggy framed that question. He associates no does not mean no with predatory intentions. And because Cara is a woman, she has most likely experienced predatory behavior from men. So he asks Cara, well, how did you feel reading that statement? So I just want to go ahead and make that clear that he's framing it in association with predatory intentions.
Yeah, so I actually wrote that part. Like, yeah. That's why it's funny.
Oh, guys, she's a woman who wrote the statement. That means that the statement isn't as predatory as we initially thought. No, it is predatory. It's still predatory. There's a lot of psychological phenomenon that's occurring here that I don't understand, but there is one that is greatly manifesting in this transaction, and that is the women are wonderful effect. Now, the women are wonderful effect is essentially a phenomenon that occurs in society where women are associated more with positive attributes than men are. Now, I want you to keep this in mind. Women aren't always wonderful in the eyes of society. Sometimes men are seen as much more logical, much more intelligent, and much more capable leaders than women. The reason why I want you to keep this in mind is because I want you to attenuate the biases that are building up, because I don't want you to think that women are always wonderful and so men are seen as the victims in this case, because no, that's not always the case. In this case, however, with Mr. Beast and the manuscript, it is that case where a woman is being seen as wonderful, because when she says, oh, I wrote that part of the script, people could just immediately dismiss it and say, oh guys, like it's just a woman who said, like, she obviously didn't mean it in a predatory way. No, but it's still considered a predatory statement. I want you to reimagine that clip, but instead of Cara, the woman, imagine a man reiterating what she just said and then laughing and then saying, that's why it's funny.
Yeah, so I actually wrote that part. Like, yeah. That's why it's funny.
Now, I want to make this clear, okay? The reason why she's laughing is because she finds it ironic that a statement like that would be written by a woman. I just want to go ahead and clarify that. But imagine if that was a man. That segment of the video would be clipped and immediately shared all over X for these people to cancel that man. But I also want to go ahead and mention, just because she's saying that, that's not her fault saying it. That's the fault of the interviewer. Now, I'm going to get to that part because, again, this has so many layers that people don't understand, that they're already going to probably jump to conclusions. Let me break it down first before you guys jump to conclusions. So let's continue moving forward so we can continue to discuss the issue.
Yeah, because I actually wrote this thing with Jimmy doing this. The whole reason why this thing exists in the first place is because we are growing so fast people-wise. It's like, okay, how do we give them artificial Jimmy time? Like, how do we teach them what CTR is, teach them what 1 out of 10 is, like, how do you say, okay, this is how we think about creative, this is how what it takes to be successful here, you know, based off of the hard things we got to do. That's the intent behind the document, right?
Now, essentially what she's saying here is that her and Jimmy created this manuscript for newcomers because Jimmy isn't always going to be able to give them the first-hand experience. Obviously, he's going to be busy doing other projects, so they created this manuscript for the newcomers. And this manuscript is supposed to teach newcomers how to properly vet and pitch ideas to locations that they can use. That's essentially what it is.
No doesn't mean no is wildly taken out of context, I think, in this situation, because in the way that we mean it, it's a sales tactic. It's like, again, like I mentioned, like you call a crane operator and go, hey man, I need you to drop a jet from your crane. And they're like, huh? No, I can't do that, right? And so for us, it's more like, well, why can't you do that? And they're like, oh, well, I don't have the manpower to do this. And it's like, okay, well, how do we help you get past that, right? Can we help get you more labor? Is it like that's what it means, because like we wouldn't have a company if we start at no at face value.
Yeah.
Now, this is the segment that I have the most issues with. So obviously the interviewer, he didn't push back at all, which I'm going to get into soon. But also she was kind of just more or less downplaying it. So she was saying like it was widely taken out of context. We didn't mean it that way. It's a sales tactic. But let me go ahead and read it to you guys, and then you guys let me know if it sounds predatory or not. When dealing with people outside Mr. Beast Productions, never take no at face value. If we need a store to buy everything inside of, and you call the local Dollar Tree and the person that answers says no, you can't film here, that literally doesn't mean shit. When you use language like that, it almost sounds like what you're telling the newcomer to just keep pushing through that no until you manufacture a consent. Talk to other employees and see if any are fans, or if any have kids that are fans. Try talking to their boss, their boss's boss, have me DM them on Twitter and try their social team. This language sounds like you're attempting to manipulate the variables in the environment. So for instance, employees, kids, if they find out that Mr. Beast is attempting to film at a Dollar Tree, they're most likely probably going to harass their boss or whoever declined the offer to accept the offer. Basically, what I'm trying to convey is what we call pushing through no. Don't just stop because one person told you no. Stop when all conceivable options are exhausted. Again, this language sounds like you're harassing the person who declined your offer when you say pushing through no and exhausted all the options. So when you say this, this is what I imagine. I imagine that you offer a deal and then the person declines, and then you continuously just up the ante because you feel like they're going to be sold on whatever deal that you're proposing. So let me go ahead and paint this hypothetical for you. So let's say you go up to a Dollar Tree, right? And you go up to the boss and you ask him if you can film, and that you'll give him $100 if you allow the filming. They declined it, and then you say, what about 200? They decline again, 1,000. They decline again, 3,000. Like, you just keep going and going and going until they get fed up and they say, like, I already told you, I don't want you guys to film here. Instead, you could have just given them a business card, and then to really think about the offer, and if they change their mind, they can split some sort of revenue with them or whatever the case is, you know? But it doesn't mention anything like that, at least in this first paragraph. Now, let's go ahead and get with the interview. Now, I do want to go ahead and say that Soggy, he did a fantastic job at doing what he did. He pulled out a banger video for sure, but I could not help but think that this was unbelievably biased against Dogpack. Like, it almost sounded like he was just going after Dogpack the entire time without actually taking a step back and actually questioning these interviewees about their actions. So I'll give you the example with Cara, since we watched her clip. My question is, why didn't you push back? You know, because is it wrong for Dogpack to interpret that segment of that manuscript the way he did? Because it really does sound predatory. Now, my issue isn't so much the employees, although that is a question in itself. Are employees enacting these kind of behaviors, and are they being predatory? I don't know. I haven't done that investigation, so I can't tell you. But what I do know is that somebody misinterpreted that segment of the manuscript, and I can't blame Dogpack for misinterpreting that segment, especially because that segment uses a ton of colloquialisms, which, if you don't know what colloquialism means, essentially a word or phrase that is not formal or literary, typically one used in ordinary or familiar conversation. And when you have a phrase like literally doesn't mean shit, that is a phrase that is often used with a familiar group, like friends or family. And I really want to show you guys the difference between colloquialisms and formal language, all right? These terms and conditions belong to Apple, okay? I'm going to read the first sentence. Using our services and accessing your content may require an Apple account. Imagine if this read, you're going to need an account to access your shit. It sounds rude and ambiguous. So I'm not surprised that somebody misinterpreted that segment of the manuscript. When you watch that segment of the video, the entire time they're just prosecuting Dogpack without even considering that, yeah, Cara and Jimmy are probably at fault for this. So you can see that this is a very complex topic with multiple layers. I only talked about a 2 or 3 minute segment of the video, and it drew out to about 12 minutes. Imagine trying to have an opinion on an hour and 30-minute video. I mean, you can, but it doesn't really seem like it's gonna have as much substance. There is way too much to break down, and on top of that, there's so much going on behind the scenes that we still don't even know about because Mr. Beast has not answered. So again, the whole point of this video is to remind you that it's okay to not know. It's okay for you to say, I don't know. And I encourage you to say, I don't know more often. Oftentimes we fall prey to the social desirability bias or even the self-preservation bias because we don't want to be seen as idiots. So we feel like we have to have an opinion on everything. But the reality is that when you have an opinion on matters that you have no understanding of, ironically, it makes you look more like an idiot. So I just kind of want to just go ahead and touch up on that subject, kind of just remind you guys that it's okay not to know. And yeah, man, that's all I have for you guys. And yeah, hopefully you guys learned something today.